Have you ever wondered how we came to this, and many more of this?
Good day, everyone.
Welcome!
We are the Group 2,
Your reporter for GEC 13 with the subject
the Contemporary World.
For today's video reporting, we are going to talk about the lesson 7 of our course, which is all about media and globalization. But before that, allow us to share to you the flow of our topic. First, define media and its type.
Second, definition of globalization.
Third, the role of media play in the globalization. Fourth, the relationship between media and globalization.
Fifth, elaborate global village and cultural imperialism.
Sixth, the cultural imperialism critics.
And lastly, the social media and the creation of cyber ghettos.
At the end of the video discussion, everyone is expected to
Analyze how various media drive different forms of global integration.
Compare the social impact of different media in the process of globalization.
And explain the dynamic between local and global cultural production.
And define responsible media consumption.
Hi, I'm Juliana Bunyol and I'm going to discuss about media and its type. So, what is media? Juk Lul, a professor of global studies, described media as a means of conveying something, such as a channel of communication. Technically speaking, a person's voice is a medium. Medium siya kay ginagamit ba nato ang atong voice o tingog para makakommunicate ta sa uban. And ang kanang voice nga atong gigamit kay mauna siya ang tool. So, when commentators refer media, the plural of medium, ang ilahan ng ginapasabot kay ang mga technologies of mass communication, sama sa television, social media, radio, o daghan pa, where pwede mag-share og experience ang mga tao simultaneously or at the same time. Bisan pag lahi-lahi silang location or bisan ka nang unsa bitaw sila kalagyo. So, to sum this all up, ang media kay mao ang outlets or tools nga ginagamit para mag-store o deliver sa mga information or data. So, dili na dayon mo tungha si Marshall McLuhan. He is a media theorist who declared that the media is the message. So, ingon ni McLuhan, ang medium kuno daw kay mao ang message. Diba ang medium kay mao na ang tool para maka-communicate ta, maka-gain ug makahatag tag information like sa kanang television, social media o etc. Kanang mga tool o outlet kay mao ang message according to McLuhan. So kung kanang mga tool ang mensahe, ginapasabot kintahay ni McLuhan nga walay pulos ang message o ideya nga gina-bear sa medium. Dili taro na siya makaapekto sa mga tao. The answer is no. Dili na mao ang buot pasabot ni McLuhan. Ang iya lang gina-point out or ginapaabot sa ato is kung giunsa sa media pag-reshape o pagbago ang atong society. So, ang pangutana karon is giunsa sa media pag-reshape ang society. So, how does media reshape society? So, pareha sa television, it was introduced in the 1960s and it has steered people from their dining table where they eat and tell stories to each other to the living room where they suddenly munch on their food while watching primetime shows. Ako po, naka-experience po ko ani. Like, kanang manihapon mi sa balay, kasagaran jud ana kay TV Patrol or Cardo Dalisay na nga oras. While katan amig TV, ga kamulo pud may kaon unya ga storyahanay may bahin sa balita o salida nga among ginatan-aw. Kana sab sa una nga magdali jud tag uli usahay gani kay kanang cleaners bitaw ta sa school kay mutakas jud ta para lang maapsan nato ang ganahan nato nga salida. So ana, television has also drawn people away from meaningful activities such as playing games or reading books. So agree ba ta ani? So, tinuod jud ni kay sukad atong na ganahan bitaw kay kung TV kay murag na less na ako ang pagdula-dula bitaw sa gawas sa una. So, tinuod jud na siya. And today, the smartphone allows users to keep in touch instantly with multiple people at the same time. karon nga panahon kay murag talagsan na lang kaayo ta makakita og tao nga walay cellphone, 'di ba? So need jud kaayo siya para makontak nato ang mga tao nga gusto nato i-kontak. And kabalo jud ta nga makaapekto jud ang cellphone or ang internet sa mga relationships. Like kay it is the only way baya for couples to constantly keep in touch or to be updated on what the other does all the time. Naagoy uban nga magbulag tungod anang kuan loss of communication. Like sigay kay walay tarong na signal or busy siya. Maglisod jud na siya update sa iyang uyab. Unya si girl sab nga naa sa layo unya iya pa jud love language kay words of affirmation. Mag-overthink jud na permi hantod sa magsiginan lang sila away nga abot na sila nga magbinulagay. So these technologies, ang television o ang smartphone, aren't just a simple bearer of messages. It also shapes the social behavior of users and reorient a person and family behavior. These situations I stated best shows that the technology or medium and not the message makes for the social change possible. So, Makluhan added that different media simultaneously extend and update human senses. New media may expand the range of communicative capacities. Think about the media of writing. Before people wrote things down on parchment, exchanging stories was mainly done orally. And para mapasa ang mga stories verbally sa ubang tao, dapat jud na ay maayo nga memory ang storytellers. However, papyrus becoming more common in Egypt after the 4th century BCE, where daghan na nga tao ang makasulat na sa ilang stories. In result, dili na need sa storytellers maningkamot o kuan o hinumdum every stories nga ila madunggan kay pwede naman siya isulat. So, kani nga development dulled people's capacity to remember according to some philosophers at the time. So, kani siya kay pare-pareha la sa cellphone. On one hand, they expand people's senses kay gahatag man na sa tao og capability maka-istorya sa uban nga tao instantaneously and simultaneously. On the other hand, they also limit the senses kay mas prone na ta sa pag-multitask and dali na kayo ta ma-distract. So, according ka Makluhan, a question of what new media enhance and what the amputate was not moral or ethical one. New media are neither inherently good nor bad. Iyahara jud goal is to draw attention to the historically and technologically specific attributes of various media. Next is the types of media. There are three types of media. The print media, kanang mga books, magazines, and newspaper. Sunod is broadcast media. Kana na siyang radio, film, and television. And lastly, ang digital media. Mao na siya ang pinakaginagamit nato karon. Mao ni siya ang email, internet site, social media, and internet-based video and audio. So the next topic, which is defining globalization, will be discussed by Mr. Mark Bian.
I know each of you already heard or talks about globalization. But the real thing is, what is globalization? The definition of globalization states that it is a process where our world isolated through physical or technological distance that become increasingly interconnected. And also, it is manifested by the interaction between the peoples around the world that involves sharing of ideas, sharing of cultures, sharing of products, services, and also investment. So the definition of globalization are pointing out that globalization allows people to interact to each other even if they are not in the same country. In this, we are able to know and even adapt the cultures, traditions, clothing style, political, and even educational system of other country. In overall, it is the connection between countries to allows idea to be shared or to be adapted. For example, the food we usually eat is adobo because Filipino loves to eat adobo. But nowadays, there's come the concept of Korean foods. Example of Korean foods, samgyeopsal, kimchi, and many more that young people tend to buy or introduce because of social trends going about social media and other social platform. And that is an example of globalization. Kay ngano gani globalization siya? Kay is a process where information spread. Moreover, globalization shows us how fast the time is and how fast the things quickly change. For example, if before there is no technologies and so on, but now almost everything around us are made up of technology. We can say that because we can now also go to the other country for business purposes in just one click of our phone. We can buy everything in Lazada, Shopee, and any social media platforms in just one click of our phone. And also, we can interact with our client there in just one click of our phone or cell phone. In short, we can now interact or talk to them online. And by doing that, we can now make our business successful. And that is an example of globalization. And to dig deeper about what is globalization, let's hear more about from Miss Juliana Marie Canato.
Now, let's talk about the role of media in the globalization. So, unsa gyud ang role ni media sa globalization or sa globalization process? Through international broadcasts, new technologies, television programming, film and music, the mass media are now seen as playing a critical role in enhancing globalization and facilitating cultural exchange and multiple flows of information and images between countries. As of today, ang media ang play a critical role in enhancing globalization. As in the previous slide, Lul described media as a means of conveying something such as a channel of communication. Ang media ang atuang ginagamit as a channel of communication. Like for example, naarata here sa Philippines, gahigda, galingkod, pero ngano ma-update ta sa mga latest news and happenings sa pikas nasod. It's because of the media. Mag-scroll lang ta sa Facebook, Twitter, or even Instagram, we can easily get the latest news from the other part of the world. Na kay friend or relatives nga naa sa pikas nasod, dali ra kaayo ta maka-communicate sa ilaha if naa tay need through SOCMED. So inana ka-amazing nga tuwang panahon karon, kay grabe ka-instant. Another example in terms in culture or music, for example, K-pop or K-culture, kita nga mga Pinoy na impluwensyahan sa ilahang kultura tungod sa tuwang kakakita sa social media or K-drama. We are all along singing with BTS and Blackpink songs. We tried to dine in Korean restaurants and try some gipsal, which is very famous in Korea. Ang mga K-pop fans, ilaha yung gina-familiarize ang Korean culture, and that is proven and tested kay inana sad ko. So, kanang is because of the influence nga gakakita nato sa media, na ay cultural exchange gakahitabo because of the mass media. Because of the globalization process, there is now greater access to a diverse range of media which plays a critical role in shaping human minds and has a significant impact on the personal lives of our society's members. As a result, these turn equally important processes interact with one another and mutually aid in the expansion of the sphere of influence. So, Monisha, one of the rule of media in the globalization. The transfer of ideas and cultures from one place to another spread and traveled faster because of the media that we have today. Prior to the advent of the press, people communicated by writing letters and sending them via direct mail. The advent of the press media resulted in an informational revolution. This early press media was used for information, promotion, and projection. It specialized in various fields and was concerned with all aspects of daily life and well-being. The press informs people about international events, entertainment, political, and sport events. Following the discovery of the press media, radio and television were developed, resulting in a different type of revolution. People could not only read but also hear the news. So inana ka-amazing nga ato ang new media karon. Mas paspas, mas dali, mas convenient ang pag-transfer or pag-transact og ideas, culture, and etc. from one place to another. On the other hand, new media are neither inherently good nor bad. So inana man jud, di ba? In every advantage na jud disadvantage. Media theorist Marshall McLuhan once declared that the medium is the message. His statement was an attempt to draw attention to how media as a form of technology reshape societies. He showed that artifacts such as media affect any society by their characteristics or contents. So like for example, television, dili ra daw ni bring og information and messages, but also ga-shape og social behavior of user and reorient family behavior. So nga naman, example, sa una while gakaon mo sa inyuhang family sa dining table, you guys are telling stories ug unsay nahitabo sa inyuhang hadlaw. Gachika-chika mo. Hangtod, magtanaw na lang mo TV, munching your food, watching primetime shows. New media may expand the reach of communication, but they also dull the user's communicative capacities. To summarize, mass media in the process of globalization and its role has many positive and negative aspects, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantage, and thus there is remarkable progress and development in all economic, social, political, cultural, and traditional aspects. To dig deeper understanding, let's hear from Cybele the relationship between media and globalization.
Relationship between media and globalization. First and foremost, let me discuss to you kung ang media and globalization. So, media, it is defined as a collective communication outlet or set of tools that are accountable of delivering desired information and data. And sa globalization, as we all know, when we hear the word globalization, musulod jud sa atong hunahuna is the spreading of ideas and culture. So, kadalasan jud gamit nato ani sa atong panahon ron is through media. Also, di ba, globalization is a spreading of ideas. One example is the notion of the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, or what we call as LGBT communities. It is spreading across the world and becoming more widely accepted. Similarly, the conservative Christian church that opposes these rights moved from places like South America to Korea and to Burundi in Africa. So this means nga spread ang LGBT community, but at the same time, Christian churches is against ani pareha sa mga lugar nga South America, Korea, and Burundi in Africa. So next is people who travel the globe teaching and preaching their beliefs in universities, churches, public forums, classrooms, or even as guests of a family play a major role in the spread of culture and ideas. But today, television programs, social media groups, books, movies, magazines, and the like have made it easier for the advocates to reach larger audiences. Globalization relies on media as its main conduit for the spread of global culture and ideas. So, Jack Lul was then right to ask, Could global trade have evolved without a flow of information on markets, prices, commodities, and more so could empires have stretched across the world without communication or with throughout their borders? Could religion, music, poetry, film, fiction, cuisine, and fashion develop as they have without the intermingling of media and cultures? So first is, according to Lowell, media is means of conveying something such as a channel of communication. So there is an intimate relationship between globalization and media, which must be unraveled to further understand the contemporary world. So the media are today seen as playing a key role in enhancing globalization and facilitating cultural exchange and multiple flows of information and images between countries which spread through international broadcasts, new technologies, television programming, film, and music. There are a lot of broadcasts of media just like the internet, TV, newspapers, books, billboards, and etc. Upon using the newspapers, books, magazines, we call it as print media. Kanang mga printed good where we can also get informations, and print media is one of the oldest and basic forms of mass communications, which is essential in the study of mass communication. When using internet, daghan jud ang makuha nga information kay i-search lang nimo test in just one click to ara. Daghan na kayong magawas nga mga results sa imong gusto may bal-an. And when it comes to films, like kanang mga Hollywood films, maabot jud na siya sa tuwa diri sa atoang country kay dili lang man na siya dito sa United States lang ipagawas. And another example po is kanang mga K-pop songs sa inyong mga K-pop idols like Blackpink, BTS, ug uban pa nga even though we do not really understand its lyrics, we tend to listen gyapon sa mutnog nice kaayo ang beat sa kanta balag unsa di ma-pronounce na basta kay ganahan ka kanta gyapon. And we all know nga sikat gid gyapon na siya sa ato diri, and that is how globalization occurs upon using media. Kibali daghan jud og ma-influence dayon sa atoa kay makabalo man ta sa ilang culture and ideas, and if ganahan ta mag-awat-awat naman dayon. So that is how media affects on globalization. And next topic will be discussed by Miss Bonalos, where she will be tackling about on the elaboration of the global village and cultural imperialism.
Global village. So the term global village refers to how the internet has connected all areas of the world. The phenomenon of the world becoming more interconnected as a result of the spread of media technologies around the globe is described. The most well-known of McLuhan's processes was the creation of a technologically enabled global village that would connect all individuals. Global village is about all parts of the world are being brought together by the internet. It describes the phenomenon of the entire world becoming more interconnected as the result of the propagation of media technologies throughout the world. So the term was coined by Canadian media theorist Marshall McLuhan, used his analysis of technology to examine the impact of electronic media. So global village concept is the most prominent of McLuhan's prediction was that of a global village that would connect all people everywhere thanks to technology. Again, yes. McLuhan's concept was based on the idea that culture would move toward greater personal interaction after leaving behind earlier eras of humanity that focused on the spoken and written word. So Marshall McLuhan. In 1911, Canadian-born philosopher and media theorist Marshall McLuhan was born. Before working as a lecturer at the University of Toronto, he completed his education at a number of universities in his native country. He used his analysis of technology to examine the impact of electronic media. Through television, the world turns into a global village. McLuhan's prediction of a global village in the early 1960s, which first appeared in his book The Gutenberg Galaxy, drew scorn from his contemporaries at that time. It wasn't until the internet was first introduced in 1989, 9 years after his death, that people remembered McLuhan's theories and showed renewed interest in his ideas. Okay, so we have positive and negative aspects in global village. So through global village, the world has been brought so much closer to one another through the use of media and other technology communication connecting to other people that has been easier at this time. So it has positive and negative effect. So positive, of course, yes, this concept of the global village has brought upon several positive changes in the world, including one of the biggest form of change called unity. So in the negative aspects of global village and the negative effect, it can cause isolation. Yes, the world is changing and faster than anyone could ever imagine. 2. Stress. Number 3. Lifestyle. 4. Lack of privacy. 5. Tourism. 6. Greed, misinformation. And 7. Competitive for job seekers. So the impact of the concept of the global village on the lives of the people, it implies that even when people are not physically close, they can still connect, share experiences, and access the same information through technologies such as social media. Through this platform, people can express themselves and make an impact of any part of the world. So now, in cultural imperialism, it is cultural in the sense that the standards of social behavior, language, religion, and other features of the imposing community are different from those of the other community and are frequently intertwined with its political and economic structures. So it was sparked by the period in which the influence of American culture and power had increased globally. So it is arose by the time around Americans' culture or power that has been heightened around the world. So the cultural of the Americans is also called as heavyweight that time, where cultural imperialism that American values and culture would dominate other culture in the world. Via the global transmission of media, as one society exerts cultural influence one another, the later society adopts their customs, philosophies, worldviews, and general ways of life.
Now that we're done about the global village and cultural imperialism, let's now go to the critics of cultural imperialism. It is possible to define cultural imperialism as the extension of influence or dominance of one nation's culture over other through the exportation of cultural commodities. What does it mean? Um, ang cultural imperialism daw, it is easy to specify nga sila ang gapaspread o ang nagpapalawig ng impluensya o pangingibabaw ng iskultura ng isang bansa or dominance of one nation's culture through the exportation of cultural commodities sa pamamagitan ng pag-asa sa mga kalakal ng pangkultura. However, to wholly understand what cultural imperialism is, one must first define culture and imperialism separately para lubos nating maunawaan kung ano talaga ang cultural at imperialismo. Kinakailangan natin itong we need to define it separately para mas masabtan jud nato kung unsa sila. What is culture? Culture is the distinction of ideas, customs, social behavior, or way of life of a particular nation, society, people, or period. What does it mean? Ang kultura raw, ito ay ang pagkakaiba ng mga idea, atong mga kaugalian, nakasanayan, ng panlipunang pag-uugali o paraan ng pamumuhay or ang way of life nato sa isang particular na bansa, lipunan, mga tao, o panahon. Now that we're done about the culture, let us proceed to imperialism. What is imperialism? According to the dictionary, imperialism stems from the word empire, and it is the extending of a country's power and influence through colonization, use of military force, or other means. Ang imperialismo daw ay nagmula sa salitang imperyo at ito ay ang pagpapalawak ng kapangyarihan at impluensya ng isang bansa sa pamamagitan ng kolonisasyon. So, what is kolonisasyon? We all know naman na ang excuse me. We all know naman na ang kolonisasyon, ito ay ang pagkontrol ng isang kapangyarihan sa isang taong umaasang lugar o mga tao. Ito ay nangyayari kapag ang isang bansa ay nasakop ng isa pa. So, sinakop ang populasyon nito at pinagsasamantalahan nito through what or through how? Sa pamamagitan ng pagpilit ng sariling nitong wika at mga halaga ng kultura ng mga tao. They force the people nga gamito nila ang ilang wika. Through colonization, they use the military force or other means. To sum up, cultural imperialism is also closely related to global communication, which can be defined as the communication practice occurring across national borders, social, political, and social divides. Proponents of the idea of cultural imperialism ignored the fact that media messages are not just made by producers. They are also consumed by audiences. So what does it mean? Ang mga proponents daw kuno of the idea or ang mga tagapagtaguyod ng idea ng imperialismong pangkultura ignored the fact. Hindi nila pinansin ang katotohanan na ang mensahe sa media ay gawa lamang ng mga producer at kinukonsumo rin sila ng mga madla. I-ignored nila ang fact nga ang media messages are not just made by producers, pero ga-consume gihapon katong mga tao which are the audiences. In the 1980s, media scholars began to pay attention to the ways in which audiences understood and interpreted media messages. The field of audience studies emphasizes that media consumers are active participants in the meaning-making process who view media text. In media studies, ang text simply refers sa content of any medium. So, katong 1980s, dito na nag-start nga gihatagan og pansin sa mga scholar of media ang mga paraan kung saan naiintindihan at binibigyang kahulugan ng mga madla ang mensahe ng media. 1985, Indonesian cultural critic Ayan Ang studied the ways in which different viewers in the Netherlands experience watching the American soap opera Dallas. Through letters from 42 viewers, she presented a detailed analysis of audience viewing experiences, rather than simply receiving American culture in a passive and resigned way. She noted that viewers put a lot of emotional energy into the process and they experience pleasure based on how the program resonated with them. Ang Indonesian cultural critic na si Ayan Ang, pinag-aralan niya ang paraan kung paano nararanasan ng mga manonood sa Netherlands kung ano ang American soap operas na Dallas sa pamamagitan ng mga liham mula sa through the 42 letters na mga manonood. Ipinakita niya ang detailed or detalyadong pagsusuri ng mga karanasan sa panonood ng madla. Sa halip na tumanggap lamang ng kulturang Amerikano sa isang pasebo at nagbitiw paraan, nabanggit niya na ang mga audiences raw kuno ay naglalagay ng maraming emosyonal. They put a lot of emotional energy into the process, and they experience pleasure based on how the program resonated with them. Ang mga audiences ay nagbibigay ng emosyonal na enerhiya sa proseso at they experience or nakakaranas sila ng kasiyahan batay sa kung ano ang programa at ito ay sumasalamin sa kanila or resonated with them. And that's according to the study of Ayen Ang. In 1990, Iliho Katz and Tamar Lives decided to push Ang's analysis further by examining how viewers from distinct cultural communities interpreted Dallas. They argued the texts are received differently by varied interpretive communities because they derive different meanings and pleasures from these texts. Those people from diverse cultural backgrounds had their own ways of understanding the show. Si Katz and Leibes, nag-decide sila nga i-push ang analysis ni Angst through sa pamamagitan ng pagsusuri or examining kung giunsa sa mga viewers pag-interpret ang show. They also argued nga ang text nga ilang na-receive have different interpretive dahil it is because na nakukuha sila ng iba't ibang kahulugan at kasiyahan mula sa tekstong ito. Lahi-lahi sila mga opinion or ang mga ilang na interpret lahi-lahi kay tungod lahi-lahi pod ang mga nananaw, lahi-lahi silag kahulugan kung unsay ilang nakita sa movie nga ilang kitanaw. Russian also were suspicious of the show's content, believing not only that it was primarily about America, but it contained American propaganda. American viewers believed that the show, though set in America, was primarily about the lives of the rich. Ang mga Russian naghinala sila nga hindi sila naniniwala na hindi lamang ito pangunahin tungkol sa Amerika, but it is all about the American propaganda. Naniniwala ang mga American viewers na ang palabas ay set in America was primarily about the lives of the rich. Ito ay tungkol sa buhay ng mga mayayaman. Apart from the challenge of audience studies, the cultural imperialism thesis has been belied by the renewed strength of regional trends in the globalization process. Asian culture, for example, has been proliferated worldwide through the globalization of media. Given these patterns, it is no longer tenable to insist that globalization is a unidirectional process of foreign cultures overwhelming local ones. Globalization, as noted in Lesson 1, it will remain an even process, and it will produce inequalities. Nevertheless, it leaves room for dynamism and cultural change. This is not a contradiction. It is merely testament to phenomenon's complexity. And sa to, gikan pa sa Lesson 1 nga ang globalisasyon, ito ay hindi pantay na proseso at ito ay magbubunga ng pagkapantay-pantay. Nevertheless, gayon pa man, nag-iiwan ito ng puwang para sa dynamism at pagbabago sa kultura. This is not a contradiction. It is merely a testament to the phenomenon's complexity. Ito ay hindi isang contradiction at ito ay isang testamento lamang sa pagiging komplikado na phenomenon. And now that I am done in my part, I will give to Christelle to explain more what is social media and the creation of cyber ghettos.
Now, let us proceed to the social media and the creation of cyber ghettos. Now, we all know that we are now at the 21st century, right? The use of technology and one of the product of technology is the social media, like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And it was very important for us to understand what is the connection about social media in the globalization. As you can see in the presentation, social media is defined as a means of interaction and a web-based communication tools. So basically, social media is used to interact and communicate with other people. With social media, you can create, share, and exchange information and ideas into another people. We can communicate into other countries and we can express ourselves through a photo and audio or a combination of a two. And of course, when using social media, there are still limitations. And there are few media scholars argue that the world is becoming culturally homogeneous. When we say homogeneous societal culture, it means shared meanings are similar but there are still a little variations of their beliefs that may arise. With those existing variations of beliefs, cybercrime or creation of cyber ghettos may arise. Okay, because of differences of beliefs, they're what we called a cyber ghettos. So, what is cyber ghettos? It is a home on cyberspace for marginalized groups of people. When we say marginalized, it means it is a group of people that is discriminated. As technology arises or the innovation of technology arises, it cannot be denied that it allows the process of globalization to become faster than what we used to experience before. Now, with the worldwide use of technology, it creates an opportunity as a larger scale. So, mas daghan og opportunity as with the use of the technology. And it cannot be denied that the globalization is anchored with the creation of a networks with use of social media. So, mauna siya ang gamit niya. So, social media is we can create a wide network that can be a contribution with regards to globalization. So, that is why if we use social media or if kung mugamit tag social media, we should know our limitations. And always put to our mind that we should be cautious enough sa mga information nga gina-post and share nato sa social media. So now, these are the highlights or things that we should remember when it comes to social media. First is the internet and social media are proving that the globalization of culture and ideas can move in different directions. Because in social media, din hinato makita ang different cultures like makakita tag mga videos and images about sa mga Korean, Americans, maong bisag wala ta dito nga lugar gaka-adapt nato ang ilahang pananamit, ang ilahang language, especially in these generations sa mga teenagers because of social media nakatuon tag another cultures and makagain tag another knowledge and idea from the other cultures. And next is social media is challenging previous ideas about media and globalization because of course every day in the social media daghan kay information which are added or posted into the social media. That is why it is believed that the previous idea are being challenged because of social media. Then next is social media have both beneficial and negative effects. So what as I said earlier, naa siya negative effects, especially dili nimo siya gamiton og tarong. But it could be beneficial to us, especially daghan tag ideas nga makuha sa social media. There are a lot of useful information that we could use from the social media nga atuang ma-access nga free lang siya. But of course, negative effects kung dili nimo makontrol imong sarili when the use of social media like murag addiction na siya. In that way, maapektuhan ang imuhang performance in everyday life. Like, bisag unsa na lang imong gina-post, you are not cautious enough about posting your opinions and ideas in social media. And dapat maging aware ta, and we should always remember that think before you click. And now, as a consumers of social media, users must remain vigilant and learn how to distinguish fact from falsehood in a global media landscape that allows alternative facts. Because sa social media, daghan kay naglahi-lahi nga information and it cannot be denied nga there are information that provided from social media that are not true. Kanang opinion lang siya, but walay ginabasihan nga factual evidences. That is why kailangan makabalo pud ta nga how to determine whether ang information kay tama ba siya or mali.
And that's the Media and Globalization from Group 2. BSED Sciences 1A.